let's focus now on the Deshaun Watson situation, because there were interesting reports last night as we get a better understanding of the process. I had advocated, number one, identifying all interested teams, number two, finding out which of those teams Deshaun Watson is interested in, and then number three, hoping that an auction for his contract emerges from the teams that he would play for. I saw the reports last night that there's a twist to that. Before the Texans would allow a team to meet with Deshaun Watson, the Texans had to approve the trade proposal that each team brought to the table. And it dawned on me why the Texans are doing this, and credit to Nick Caserio for thinking ahead. Because if you do it the way I suggested, there's a chance that Deshaun Watson emerges from the various meetings with only one team that he'll play for. Then what's your leverage? We'll just keep him leverage like Seattle had with Russell Wilson when negotiating with the Broncos. You don't have that in Houston. They're desperate to get rid of him.
Right.
So you've got to get pre-qualification. You've got to get the deals lined up. Basically, the Texans are doing directly what the Packers did indirectly through David Dunn, lining up the acceptable destinations for Aaron Rodgers while he decided where he was going to go. The difference is Rodgers had the Packers on the menu. Watson doesn't have the Texans on the menu. So Panthers, Saints, Browns, Falcons have all made proposals to the Texans that they've signed off on.
Yeah.
So the trade's going to happen. If these reports from last night, now, anytime I see the exact same report come from multiple people, that tells me somebody's putting it out there.
No doubt.
It's basically an announcement.
Right.
It's not a report. It's an announcement that's handed to somebody, but they don't want to put their name on it. They don't want to do a press release telling the world that this is it, but they're telling the world this is it. That tells me as soon as Watson picks one of these teams, that's where he's going.
I would think so. I mean, the way it was laid out, that's the way I took it, certainly. You know, what I was surprised is like, were all the offers exactly the same? That's what I wanted to know, or is it just like, hey, that's good enough and we'll tinker with it when the time comes? Or was it just like, hey, wait, this is what you got to give us to have the conversation with Watson, or you don't get to have that? I mean, was there a baseline, like, here's the standard you got to get to?
It had to be.
I guess so. And was everybody's the same? I mean, that's where it's interesting too.
But how can it be? Because they're all drafting in different spots around one. I don't know if they pull out the old trade chart and they say, well, from the Saints, we want this, this, and this. From the Panthers, we take this, this, and this. From the Browns, it's that. From the Falcons, it's that. I don't know. But if these reports are accurate, and again, these reports are announcements that are funneled through reporters, they are accurate. The Texans have pre-qualified. It's like showing up to look at a house. You got to get pre-qualified for the mortgage before you even walk in the door. These teams had to be pre-qualified before they could even sit down with Deshaun Watson, because the risk is Watson's going to fall in love with the one team that's going to hold out. If there's one team, if you can make a pitch that we're the team and Watson says, screw all the other ones, you set yourself up to steal Watson, because the Texans at that point have no leverage.
Yeah, right.
So this was the only way to do it. So kudos to Nick Caserio for figuring that out. If I was the GM of the Texans, I would have screwed that up, because there quite possibly would have ultimately been one team that Watson would have waived his no-trade clause for. Then I'm stuck. So smart move. Another move, Chris, that I think it's curious to me.
Yeah.
Tony Buzbee, who represents 22 individuals who have sued Deshaun Watson. Now, those cases are still pending. Those cases aren't going anywhere unless they're settled or dismissed. They're going to trial at some point, and he'll either win or lose. And there's 22 of them. And a lot of times civil cases can be coin flips. And I don't know, you flip a coin 22 times and have it come up heads. Good luck with that. I mean, it's just unless they try them all at once and go all eggs in one basket with one jury, it's not going to be easy to win every one of these. But Tony Buzbee reportedly said that none of the teams interested in Deshaun Watson have reached out to him or his clients to find out their side of the story. And on one hand, I say, there's enough out there that you know their side of the story. But on the other hand, it's like, maybe you should talk to him. Maybe prudence requires you to slow down and take in everything, because you're going to get knocked from a PR standpoint if you trade for Deshaun Watson. Don't you want to be able to say, we turned over every stone, we considered every angle, we talked to everyone we needed to talk to? If you're just getting your information about these cases from Deshaun Watson or his lawyer, you're not getting all the information. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to do it. What does it hurt Yeah, the worst case scenario is Tony Busby tells you something that you follow up on, and it makes you say, yeah, we're not going to do this trade. Thank God we figured that out before we pulled the trigger. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. I understand why they're not doing it, but I think it probably makes sense to check that box, because if these cases do go sideways and you've traded for him and you didn't talk to Tony Busby, you're going to hear about it from Tony Busby, and your fan base is going to hear about it, and they're going to be like, what were you thinking? Why didn't you get this information and step away from the table before it was too late?
It's an interesting point, or you raise a good question. I'll say that. I will. I mean, I guess if you're a team, you're going to look at Tony Busby and I think there's a little bias, right? That, some of the stuff you're going to get there, you don't know if it's necessarily
factor
true.
that in. You factor that into everything he says.
I guess so. The other real reality, at least that, kind of hits me in the face, is that teams don't really want to know. They don't really want to know all the details, the teams that are interested here. They just want it to be, wait, is it not so egregious that we'll look like total fools when he gets here? Okay, it's not. It didn't cross that line of so egregious that we're not going to get totally lambasted when he gets in town. Fine, then we don't really want to hear the details because he's a really good player and we keep watching film and damn, it's good. Oh my gosh, he's going to make our team good. That to me would be why. I don't think the teams here want to get into all of that. They like just kind of, okay, there's an issue, but they still have an image or a view of Deshaun Watson that they don't want to be disrupted right now. That would be at least my thought on the process there.
Let's spin it forward, though.
Yeah.
With 4 suitors at the table, 3 of which come from the same division.
Mm-hmm.
If Deshaun Watson, and I was on WFNZ in Charlotte this morning, and this kind of organically came up during the conversation. I hadn't previously thought of this. If Watson picks the Saints, aren't the Panthers, isn't it in their interest? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying we need to be ready for it. Won't the Panthers start spinning this as, yeah, we decided that after we did our due diligence, we really didn't, we really weren't comfortable. What else are you going to say? Well, we lost him to the Saints. The Saints are better than us. The Saints made a better pitch than us. We really wanted him. He picked the Saints. Sorry. I mean, it becomes in the Panthers' interest to say, yeah, you know what? We dodged a bullet on this one. I hadn't thought of that before this morning.
Kind of a low blow, though. I mean,
God, what a shock that an NFL team would make a low blow at somebody they don't get. What a shock that would happen. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I could see them doing it.
I mean, I just, yeah. I mean, listen, they'll probably try to spin it either way. I don't think that's going to make Watson's agent feel great. Wait, the guy you just wanted and you were begging us to get, now you're glad you dodged a bullet with them. Oh, that's great, guys. Great job. That to me is, again, crossing the line a little bit as far as business ethics or whatever else. I understand. It is the NFL. But
yeah. Let me tie it back to our prior point, though. It's all the more reason to talk to Tony Busby. You lay the foundation for that eventual argument. See, I think these teams are so caught up in the land rush for Deshaun Watson, they're not thinking about these things. If you want to eventually be able to say, low blow or not, we decided to back away from Deshaun Watson. He did not pick us. We didn't pick him. We talked to Tony Busby. We got some information. We can't share that stuff publicly because it was given to blah, 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 BS. But if you don't talk to Busby, it's harder to sell that. I guess that's my point. I don't know why. And I understand they're going to get a very skewed, justifiably. It's his duty, right? His duty is to cause chaos for Watson in order to get the best possible settlement for his clients. That's how it works. That's how the sausage gets made. So they're not willing to put their hand into the meat grinder on something like this because they know what's going to happen. But if you want to set up the opportunity to say, yeah, we decided to go in a different direction after we learned some of these things, you got to go learn some of those things. You got to go talk to Tony Busby. So this thing is happening so quickly. I just wonder if the teams that are pursuing Deshaun Watson are thinking it through beyond we just want to get him.
Yeah, I think they are. I know whether Tony Busby conversation happens, that I don't know. That to me would be, I'm not sure all teams would get behind that. Again, for the reasons stated. But I think all these teams are doing their due diligence enough to feel, hey, comfortable at this point to go, okay, let's make it happen. And like you've always said, listen, he's a talented player. He's a superstar player to where they're going to swipe some of this stuff under the rug. yes, for what they're going to get on the football field. So we'll see where it goes. But, we're getting the feeling that we see the light at the end of the tunnel. Now, if you're one of these teams, Mike, do they wait a little longer here? I mean, you're not going to pull the trigger quite yet on making the trade, right? You're going to want to see kind of maybe some more developments, or do you think this is going to happen here really shortly?
I think if you've come to the table with your offer to the Texans and you've met with Deshaun Watson, once he picks a team, I mean, if you say, we want to wait a week, okay, I'll move on to the next one. I think that the planets are lined up here, and it's just a matter of Watson picking a team. And today is the day of the start of the league year at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's when the cap numbers hit the books, and the Texans can offload a net of $24 million in cap dollars, $35 million in cash obligations, and they avoid the $17 million roster bonus fully guaranteed and payable in March of 2023 if they get this resolved ASAP. Another reason not to talk to Tony Busby, and this may be ultimately why teams aren't doing it, if you talk to him,
and say something wrong or whatever.
Well, no.
Okay.
If you talk to him and you trade for Deshaun Watson, then you become the pincushion for Busby's grandstanding, saying, I told the Panthers all about this stuff, and they traded for this guy anyway. Hey, Carolina Panthers fans, you need to be asking some tough questions of David Tepper. You need to be asking some tough questions of Matt Rule. Is this just an effort by Matt Rule to save his ass? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's what I meant. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that because some of that they're going to go, wait, I don't even know if it's true or not, but that's just his side, and now he's throwing it on us. And that to me was my point where I don't think that call happened.
I'd rather have Busby saying they didn't call than Busby saying they called me and I told him everything and they still traded for him. Because that's how it all came up today on WFNZ in Charlotte. You got some folks in North Carolina who are skittish about this. I mean, the Panthers have been at the table for a long time, but now it's real. They wanted him last year, but it never really materialized. He never wanted them. Now he's at least considering them. Now it's in a position where it could happen. And you got some folks there who aren't very comfortable with the idea of making this trade for Deshaun Watson, not just in light of the allegations, but in light of the stuff that's already been acknowledged. Last year, Rusty Hardin, in one of his press conferences, admitted that these massage therapy sessions lined up through social media at times became consensual sexual encounters. So, and there were a lot of them. What was the number? North of 40 in a 9-month window, I think it was. I'll defer to the facts there, but it was something that made folks say, something's not right here. Regardless of what happens in the criminal justice system, the civil justice system, something's wrong with this picture. And I think that's part of what Deshaun Watson needs to consider in making his final determination. He played college football in Clemson. He kind of knows. I'm trying not to pass judgment on a populace here, but this is part of the reality. Different fan bases, different cities are going to react to this differently. And if you're going to be looking for a place where the reaction to Deshaun Watson is negative, if he shows up as the local team starting quarterback, the Panthers are probably at the top of the list of where the reaction will be locally the most negative.
Yeah, I mean, will it? I don't know. You think that?
I think it will.
I mean,
well, I'm just saying it's all relative.
I know.
It's all relative. It's going to be negative.
You're going to deal with blowback no matter where he goes. I think if the Panthers a little bit because of what you said, the Clemson, South Carolina, connection, the fact that, hey, the Panthers' new facility is going to be in the state of South Carolina, right?
Yeah. If the people or the local government ever pays the money they're supposed to pay for them to keep building it, they stop building it last I saw. But eventually, it will be.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that could be a place where maybe he's got a few more people on his side. Either way. The point being to what you're saying is no matter where he goes, it's going to be blowback. You're going to have to deal with some of that. Not every fan. If you take, 20 fans, you're going to have a handful who are going to go, wait, I don't want that guy. Wait, that guy seems, fishy or dirty for what he did down in Houston, however you want to phrase it. And you're going to have to deal with that. That's going to be part of the territory. You're going to have to take your lumps, and hopefully that Deshaun Watson can, continue to act appropriately and kind of grow on, people and city through his play and what he says into the microphone.
I'm looking at the table of contents of Playmakers. There is a chapter in Part 3, Quarterbacks, Ben Roethlisberger's Redemption, page 89. It tells the story of how in the aftermath of the second allegation against Ben Roethlisberger. There was a lawsuit in 2009 filed in Nevada. There was the Milledgeville, Georgia incident in 2010, same month, March. And in the aftermath of that, it was as bad locally in Pittsburgh as I've ever seen it for any player on the Steelers. They were ready to run that guy out of town. They considered trading him to multiple teams. It was bad. I remember tuning into talk radio in Pittsburgh, and they were going on. We've talked about this before. Every petty grievance you could list about Ben Roethlisberger it was just free-for-all. But what happens? He plays, he wins, they get to the Super Bowl. By 2011, it's all forgotten. And that's the play that the Panthers, the Saints, the Falcons, the Browns are trying to make here. Short-term pain, long-term gain.
That's right.
They're going to forget about this a year from now. The cases are going to end at some point. Everyone moves on. Everything moves on. It's reality. It's reality. Mike Vick spent 2 years in prison for dogfighting. Came back and played at a very high level. Got a $100 million contract, sort of. Not really, but close enough. So I think that's the understanding here. We're going to take some lumps. There's going to be some pain. There's potentially going to be a suspension. Maybe there'll be a trial in open court where all sorts of embarrassing things are said. But at some point, everyone's going to move on, and we're going to have a quarterback who's among the best in the NFL, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's what they're hoping for, 100%. They are.
And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. No, I'm just saying that's the way it is.
That's the way it is. They're going to weather the storm. I mean, we've seen that, with really good players throughout the history of the NFL. I mean, it's part of it. You're right. You're going to have to weather the storm. So that's where, it's going to be interesting.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.